Welcome back everybody, this is Ivan Farka and this is a tutorial on how to boost the Milky Way on your photos. So if you haven't tried Milky Way shooting before, I really recommend it. It's so awe-inspiring. You're in awe looking at all those stars. So the bad thing is you have to drive around 1 or 2 hours depending on where you're at. Find a really dark place and go there, watch the stars. It's really amazing. And today I'm going to show you how I went from something like this that's straight out of camera, nothing done to it. You can see there's nothing done to it, straight out of camera, into something that looks like this. Boom. So I'm going to leave the EXIF data on how I shot this Milky Way shot. I didn't want to do a 30-second exposure. I wanted to do like a 20-second exposure so I don't get that trailing effect and get those stars pinpoint. So I did 20 seconds, 2.8, 6400 at 16 millimeters on my Canon 5DS. And with the 16 to 35 Canon lens. It's not the Sigma, it's not a Rokinon, it's just the Canon the second version, 2.8. Let's start then. First, you get your image straight out of camera. It looks like I got a shooting star, look at that. I got a shooting star. Okay, cool. Then you go to my preset save and just click on Milky Way Start, and there you go. It's been great having you. My name is Ivan Farka, and oh, that's the easy way to go. But let's reset that and let's see how I got that Milky Way Quick Start preset going. So first of all, our image has to be white balance the right way. But for that to be done, we need to take out that vignette we have and go to, I'm going to start with a profile. Click on these squares over here. I've been using lately the Adobe landscape. It's much better looking than the camera landscape my camera has, since my camera landscape is a little bit darker. And the Adobe landscape tends to be a little bit brighter. It doesn't contrast that much. We can add contrast, and that's better. So use the Adobe landscape for now. And then we're going to go to lens corrections, remove chromatic aberration, enable profile corrections, and there you go. I don't like those green spots on the top. That's going to be a little bit of a problem, so I'm just going to add a little bit of that vignette back in there. Just a tiny bit, like in 70. That's pretty good. Now, back to basic. So, first of all, I have my right hand side on solo mode. How do I do that? So whenever I select one, everything closes except the one I clicked. And any gray bars I have over here, right click and choose solo mode. Without solo mode you can open up everything and you can go up and down, and that's gonna be like way too much. So I'm gonna right click on anywhere on these gray areas and go solo mode. Boom, everything's tighter, cleaner. Let's keep this out of the way. There you go, much better. So now whenever I click somewhere else, it's gonna close what I was doing and open what I clicked on. For me, it's a little bit tidier and I can concentrate on one thing and don't go up and down and choosing different things. So I go a little bit in order on this. Okay, to get the white balance the way we want it, this is a trick I learned in YouTube from Milky Way Mike. So you turn on the vibrance 100%, Saturation 100%. It's gonna look bad. Bear with me and you'll see what I'm doing. So now that we see everything, we're gonna move the temperature to the blues or the warm tones, the yellows, and get somewhere in the middle. Get like a balance of blues and yellows. So if we go really blue, boom, everything disappears. We don't want that. And if we go all the way to the right, it's orange, and we don't want that. We want something right in the middle. So you can see like right somewhere in 4000. Yeah, this is like a little bit of blue and a little bit of yellow, so it's really, I like that. I'm gonna go with 4000. Now the tint's the same way. We have a lot of green or a lot of magenta. You can see we can go really magenta, which is not gonna look nice, or really green, which is not gonna look nice. Somewhere in the middle. We want somewhere in the middle. I think where it was a -2 is pretty good. So now we're gonna double click on the slider and reset that, and the image is gonna look like black and white. That means that you got a good white balance going. Let's keep going. I can see my shadows, everything's a little bit dark. Well, it's a night sky, it's gonna be dark. I'm gonna brighten the exposure just a tiny bit. Don't worry, gonna do the contrast, do a lot of contrast on this. On Milky Way post-processing, you're gonna do a lot of contrast and moving around so you can see what you're doing. So now I'm gonna grab the highlights. If I go up, I'm gonna blow it up. I don't want that. I want the sky to look dark. Somewhere around like 60s, fine. My whites, same way. I'm gonna see what I do with these. I'll leave it at a little bit lower, like -20. It's fine. Now the shadows. I'm gonna add a little bit of shadows and add a little bit of the blacks. And here comes a really cool part of this. This over here. These 4 sliders are gonna do almost all the work. I'm gonna push the clarity a lot. That's gonna make my image really contrasty. I'm gonna add a little bit of the dehaze. Add a little bit of that vibrance. So if we go really crazy, we don't want that. We don't want that crazy. We want some color, but not that much. Somewhere around 20 and around 12, I want to say, with the saturation. So right now, just moving the basic exposure, highlights, shadows, whites, blacks, and contrasts, we get this. This is a before, so you can see. That's before, and this is after. So before and after. Wow. Just by clicking on moving around the basic and the lens corrections. That's all we've done up to now, and this is 100% better shot than what it was. Let's keep going. So now I'm going to use a tone curve, and I want to like grab this one over here and pull it up just enough, like around a 2%. You can see a number right here. It says 2%. That's where I want it. I'm going to add another point right there. Oh, by the way, if you don't get this type of curves adjustment stuff, you're gonna have to click on this button right here. So it might look like this. Just click on this one, this button that says click edit point curve, and you're gonna get it. I'm gonna double click each circle to reset it, and I'm gonna add 1, 2, 3 points. The one at the bottom I'm gonna darken, not that much, just enough. The one at the tops I'm gonna lighten up, and you can see that starts boosting that Milky Way over here. The downside of doing that, noise comes in. So before and after. So the noise gets contrasted, and that's because I used a really high ISO to get all that. But I'm going to deal with it right now. After that, you can go into RGB channels by clicking on the RGB and play around. You can select one, pull it down, pull it up, see what you like better. If you don't like it, you can double click the little circle. It will reset it. Same with the green. See what it looks like. Let's see with the blue. It's way too blue. I kind of like it there. See, it's really small increments. It's going to do the trick. HSL, the hue, saturation, and luminance, I'm going to leave alone right now. Going to come back, maybe fix this over here. Split toning, going to leave alone. Lens correction, we already did. Effects and calibration, we're not going to touch. Detail. This is where the noise and sharpness is going to come in. As of right now, the sharpening is at 40. Radius, everything is in default. I'm going to sharpen a little bit, like a 60. Then I'm going to hit Alt. You can see it changes over here when I press Alt. And I'm going to grab that radius slider. It's going to turn grayish. But look at the little window on the detail, like right there. If I go up, you're going to see it increases that noise. We don't want that. We want it just enough so that the stars gets sharpened. And the same with the detail. If you go up all the way, it's going to sharpen that noise, and we don't want that. We want just the stars. So somewhere there. And by using the masking still with Alt, gonna go all the way up until just the stars and part of the foreground is sharpened. So everything that's black, it's not going to be sharpened. Everything that's white, it's going to be sharpened. That means my stars are going to be sharpened, and I don't want anything on the foreground really sharp. So somewhere there is fine. We still have noise. We do still have it. You can see it right there. And this is the noise reduction we're going to be using. We're going to use around 40 to 60. Sometimes when you go really crazy with this, start losing stars, everything starts to go kind of blurry. Yeah, you don't want that. So go for 40, let's go to 46. Detail, everything stays the same. Lens corrections, we already did. And boom. You have your Milky Way shot. This is how I did my preset. It's as easy as, once you do the preset, it's as easy as click and done almost. That's why I labeled it Milky Way Quick Start, because this is, well, this is just a quick start, just to start editing. Let's keep on going and bring it up a notch. Give it that oomph it really needs. I'm going to use the brush tool over here on the right, the adjustment brush. And I'm going to leave my flow at 60, my feather at 100, size. You can use your middle mouse scroll button to go up and down, or you can use it over here, same. Density 100, auto mask off. And I'm going to check this little mark that says show selected mask overlay. That's going to show us where we are painting. And we are going to paint all the dark clouds that are in there in the Milky Way. Those dark parts over here, all those. So let's start. Just going to add these over here. You can see it starts painting on red. That's the show selected mask overlay. So if I click it off, there it is. It's just for a reference to see where you're at and what you're doing. Gonna add these over here a little bit. Add those dark clouds, really nice dark clouds. Yeah, these clouds right there. This over here. Just add that little bit of a contrast, oomph, like that grittiness. This is the amazing part of the Milky Way. Can see how those clouds are busting out and everything's revolving around a black hole. We are revolving around a black hole. Keep going, doing that blacks. Now you can do a little bit better job than I'm doing. You get the idea. It doesn't really matter if you go over the light parts. I'm going to show you what we're going to do. So now that we have that dark painted, I'm going to check the show selected mask overlay off. And now if we go to exposure and bring it down, it's going to look really bad. It's going to look like my kid just finger painted with black in there, and it looks really bad. For that, and it's gonna, so remember, these really bright parts are really dark. You don't want to do that. Instead, we're gonna grab that shadow and bring it down, so it's only gonna affect those shadow parts. You can see how it starts, and if you see this nebula over here, it didn't get darkened. It didn't darken out. It's just grabbing those black parts. Probably overdid it a little bit. And you're just gonna add those blacks a little, not so much, just a hint. Just that hint right there. Love it. Loving the way it's coming out. Now we're going to use a new, click on the new, so you do a new brush. And now we're going to go over the bright parts. We're going to brighten up a little bit of the Milky Way. Again, show selected mask overlay. And go over these bright parts. I'm going to do these over here a little bit more. Oh, don't forget those nebulas in the middle. That's going to make all the difference in these Milky Way shots. It's going to give it that extra punch that everyone likes. Right there. I'm going to add a little bit on this side just to contrast that out, those lines. A little bit right here. You get the idea. Now let's click off the selected mask overlay. And the same thing. If we go exposure up, we're gonna brighten everything, and it's gonna look like somebody just went in there and brightened everything. It looks terrible. Don't do it. Instead, again, highlights, bring them up just a tad bit, because if we go crazy, you're gonna notice that someone painted in there. But something really subtle. Clarity is gonna make that a bit punchier. Whites, let's see what whites does. Oh, it's nice. Let's just do that really tiny bit. You can select your brush strokes, selecting these circles. So this is my darks. If you keep your cursor on this little circle, it's going to tell you where it is, where you painted. Probably it's a little bit dark, so just going to add that little bit extra detail. And this is the before and after those brush strokes you just did. So this looks really nice, but this has a little bit more punch and contrast to it. Liking it a lot. I'm going to use now the radial filter. Just going to add a little bit of a clarity to the Milky Way. Like that. Somewhere there. Yeah, that's pretty good. And just, I'm going to use a clarity. I'm liking it. I am liking it. And since we have a little bit of a color purples and these stuff going on over here, just gonna add that radial filter right here, going from up and down, and I'm gonna do a negative exposure, just gonna darken it a little bit more. And that is it. Looks really nice. You can see all those clouds. Let's do a quick comparison on a before and after of the shot. So the one on the left is straight out of camera, no post-processing. On the right, it's the processed version of it, which I really liked. If you like this tutorial, hit that subscribe button, and I'll be doing more tutorials. Comment below what you want to learn, and see you next time. My name is Ivan Farka, and see you later.